promise you, we will win Iowa and we will win this election. And we'll remind the world why this is the greatest nation on earth. God bless you and God bless America.
Boston Red here with Friday Java, a weekly magazine of political theory, polling, and commentary. It is part of the Boston Red family, and for the hundreds of thousands of people that have joined us over the last 4 years in an exciting period in history called the election of Barack Obama, we introduce you to the final phase, the re-election campaign, two theories, pundits, people that make up this fascinating journey. We are part of the Obama network. For that, we make no apologies. What we pledge to do is give you the facts, unabridged, the history, what body politics is, the most up-to-date theories of political science and psephology. Stay tuned for this incredible ride. Boston Red, peace out.
And given my administration's relentless pursuit of al-Qaeda's leadership, there is no justification beyond politics for Congress to prevent us from closing a facility that should have never been opened. Today, so let me finish, ma'am. Today, once again, today, I'm about to address it, ma'am, but you got to let me speak. I'm about to address it.
Commander-in-Chief.
Let me address it.
Close Guantanamo today.
Why don't you let me address it, ma'am?
Those 86 prisoners.
Why don't you sit down and I will tell you exactly what I'm going to do.
Today. That includes 57 Yemenis.
Thank you, ma'am.
It includes Dr. Amr.
Thank you. Thank you. Ma'am, thank you. You should let me finish my sentence. Now, ma'am, let me finish. Let me finish, ma'am. This is part of free speech, is you being able to speak, but also you listening, and me being able to speak. All right? I'm willing to cut the young lady who interrupted me some slack, because it's worth being passionate about. Is this who we are? When we went, he went on to, we're addressing that, ma'am.
Family victims. That will make us safer here at home. I love my country. I love the rule of law. The roads are making us less safe, and keeping people in indefinite detention in Guantanamo is making us less safe. Abide by the rule of law for our constitutional lawyers.
You know, I think that and I'm going off script as you might expect here. The voice of that woman is worth paying attention to. Obviously, I do not agree with much of what she said. And obviously, she wasn't listening to me in much of what I said. But these are tough issues. And the suggestion that we can gloss over them.
The coffee pot is on, and we are here. This is Friday Java on the 24th day of May, 2013. Boston Red here on a holiday weekend. Memorial Day, and we normally have a Memorial Day program. We'll have one this year, but it'll be over on Spreaker. But nonetheless, we'll go with a regular scheduled program, which is the Monday morning quarterback. Wish everybody a happy weekend. We understand that people are going to the beaches where they can in the coastal areas. In other areas, they are perhaps just going. But nonetheless, it will be a holiday, and it also is an interesting situation that it is on Monday, and at the IRS and several other locations in Washington and other places, they are doing furlough. As a matter of sequester, they are taking off one day, and various agencies, housing, urban development, etc., will be either using that day or they'll be using a day in August that precedes Labor Day. So in other words, we'll have a number of days out here that people will be utilizing at these various federal agencies to make up for the cuts that have occurred. So some will be off this week, and others will also be off the 4th of July weekend and the Labor Day weekend, as it is called here. In most areas of the world, it would be on May 1st, but they didn't make that one. But nonetheless, they will be there, so it'll be 3 or 4 days that they will be furloughed that will not be paid days. However, I would assume in some agencies they will have the option to take holiday pay or whatever that normally they would get. So, in other words, we're not totally without some recourse there in the federal government. But this was an interesting day, and as you just heard after our Friday Jolly introduction, the introduction to our part here, the president was at the National War College. He was talking about modern-day warfare, and you'll hear a little bit from him at the close of our presentation here. But basically what he was talking about was inexpensive forms of warfare, the drone. And what you heard was a protest voice from Code Pink, Ms. Benjamin there, about various people that have been killed in many countries, and the president himself talked about that in terms of these conflicts. In Afghanistan, no doubt thousands of civilians have been killed. And was there a reason they were supposedly chasing the Taliban? Or the base, the Taliban left Afghanistan and moved to Pakistan. So thus the drones went to work on them and still working on them. And then of course you had the conflict in Baghdad. Thousands of civilians were killed there. That is the nature of these conflicts, these modern day wars, if you want to call them, modern day warriors like knights in not so shining armor. But nonetheless, Code Pink and various others are concerned about the latest drones. The drones are basically replacing the cruise missiles and particularly the aeroplanes that involve having pilots to pilot them. These are not without pilots. They can use them. They can be in. They can be out. And yes, people are killed. I believe there were 4 American citizens that were supposedly fighting on the side of these various, we'll call them here liberation organizations. They call them terrorists. One man's terrorist is another guy's liberated. There's no doubt about that. It's a play on semantics. But the American part of the story is based upon the World Trade Center. World Trade Center was a very controversial situation as to who was actually responsible for that. It was pegged on the Taliban. Finally, an early interview there with the head of the Taliban, so to call, Osama bin Laden. They asked him if he was the instigator of 9/11. He pleaded ignorance, knew nothing about it, and later, according to his press reviews, they were the ones behind it. That's very doubtful indeed that they were. They did not have the logistics, and also they were not primarily interested in the American soil campaigns. They were interested in other things. Now you've had other attempts such as the Christmas so-called bomber, but then there's a question the same as in Benghazi. Who are the people behind the people that were behind him? That will not be known. But that is a very potent question to ask, because there are various intelligence services involved, like in Benghazi. We had the Mossad, we had the British, we had the French, we had the Italian, and naming various others. Plus the CIA was there, and various other intelligence agencies in the U.S. That is the reason the story will not be told, and they should be honest with the American people and just explain to them it was an intelligence operation, and leave it at that, as the former Secretary of State, who knows something about these things, Hillary Rodham Clinton, said it doesn't matter. And that is honestly the facts. It doesn't matter, because you will never find out who matters. But nonetheless, the hearings play on today, Ms. Lerner was there from the CIA, or yesterday actually, and she made an opening statement, and then she asserted her Fifth Amendment rights. There's a question with ISA there. ISA is not an attorney. Did she waive them? The answer to that is no, as Elijah Cummings, who is an attorney and is knowledgeable in these issues, and various other people have said. So in other words, ISA is wasting time and wasting money, literally. The major item at hand for those people is the budget, and only the budget. And Dr. Bernanke talked about that. Incidentally, we'll have that on Numbers Man this weekend. We'll have an edited version of his address to the Joint Congressional Committee, and it basically revolved around the Fed policy and something called an accommodation, a quantitative easing, where the Fed is buying buying $85 billion of securities, etc., each month. And will that go on? Well, it will. They have targeted the unemployment rate at 6.5%. So they will continue on, according to Dr. Bernanke. The conservative Republican types do not like that particular program and have never liked it. But one of the things to understand is, in terms of monetary policy, once it is set, it is very difficult to undo what has happened. And the Republicans know that, and as Lyndon Johnson used to say, anyone has been to a goat roping contest, so that is a matter that is etched in stone. The economy itself is dynamic. It's not static, but policy these days, at least in the industrial nations, are trending towards that type of accommodation, as we'll call it. That is happening in Japan, that is happening in the UK, and various other countries. The International Monetary Fund has endorsed it. This idea of austerity, which the Republicans are preaching here, they tried in the UK and almost went into the triple dip, recession, or prolonged depression, whatever you want to call it. It has not worked and will not work, and that is what the Republicans have been talking about. So now they're fighting on a budget bill in the Senate. The old man McCain, who was the nominee in 2008, is backing a congressional committee, in other words, that would be the Senate and the House, to come together and to get a bill. The right-wingers like Cruz and the Rand Paul, I don't know if Aqua Buddha is there or not, would oppose this. But their type of economics had its day. And that day was almost 100 years ago, and it went totally out the window. And that is part of the big fight. The big fight is about economics and philosophy and what goes forward. But one of the things the Republicans have to take into account is that the present-day economy, global economy out there, is very complicated. It's not the type of 1920s agrarian type economy that they and the libertarians wish for. In fact, we were reading an article today on something called Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a virtual currency, if you've not heard of it. A lot of people are trading in it. It's worth about, I think one Bitcoin is about 50 pounds. And looking at, say, a global currency that is not backed by any particular country, are backed by gold, etc. So we're moving towards more of a virtualized manner in which we do things. We'll now go to the University of Virginia, where we've attempted to tie a few things together here. And as our time moves on, what we're trying to do here is, we won't give you the 1-minute news, but we try to give you about roughly about 25 minutes. No, we'll go over this or not, but nonetheless, this is from Salvatore's Crystal Ball. Our particular mechanism is the Ouija board. We'll be here, incidentally, on the week that was, and we'll talk about the LA elections and various other things. But here we try to get this. This is from Kyle Klondike. He's a House editor, and I'll just briefly scan over it, give it a little perusal here. After the 2004 election map showing that G.W. Bush re-election map by counties became a notable Republican souvenir and bumper sticker entitled Bush Country. The map showed largely a red map with the election results sheeted by county. And of course, Bush only beat Kerry by 2.8